all shot and killed by the police on 5th of May 2011 at Vierfort. Further lines of inquiry have been explored. I find that this investigation is near completion, and the evidence emanating from the investigation in the further lines of inquiries as aforesaid is sufficient in my view to warrant the arrest and formal interviewing of the officers involved on suspicion of reckless manslaughter. I have advised the Commissioner accordingly. These were the matters that were on review as it pertains to my last indication to the media at my last press release in 2021. There also are matters of tremendous public concern and interest that have continued to make their rounds in terms of the public outcry, etc. And one of these matters is that of Arnold Joseph, who was shot and killed by the police on 22nd of May 2019, about 10:40 p.m. at the intersection of Chaussee and La Pensée Road in the city of Castries. I am aware of this matter, and I'm aware that it has been investigated by the investigative team and that a file has been submitted to the Commissioner of Police. This matter has not been formally sent to my office for advice, contrary to what has been said on the media. My office remains committed to providing advice as soon as we are in receipt of it in this matter, once the request is made by the Commissioner of Police. I shall now proceed to update you as promised on the Shakadan Daniel matter. This deceased was found dead whilst in custody at the Miku police station on 23rd October 2013. The investigative team is also charged with the review and continued investigations into this matter. I can assure you that this matter remains active in terms of investigations, as there are outstanding lines of inquiry to be explored, which includes forensic testing in relation to exhibits recovered in this matter. These exhibits, to date, from my understanding, have not been submitted for testing to date. Therefore, based on the evidence reviewed thus far, I find that the investigation of Shakadan Daniel is incomplete, and as such I urge the Commissioner of Police to cause these outstanding matters in the course of the investigation to be addressed. Kimberly De Leon, shot and killed at her residence on 29th October 2018. This matter, I can assure the public that this matter remains an active investigation, and this investigation is being conducted by the Major Crimes Unit of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. I am aware that there are outstanding lines of inquiry in this matter which require the assistance of external agencies. I am in receipt of a preliminary file, and I can conclude based on this preliminary file that this matter needs to be completed in terms of its investigation. And I would urge again for the Commissioner of Police and the requisite Major Crimes Unit to do what is necessary to ensure that these lines of inquiry are carried out so that I can be updated in relation to this matter and have an update for you in due course. I also listed Oliver Gobat, killed on the 25th of April 2014. His homicide has continued to attract significant public interest. The investigation has been assigned to the investigative team and have been reviewing this evidence, the evidence gathered for the last 7 years. This matter has proven to be very complex in nature, and further lines of inquiry are being pursued with the assistance of external agencies. I remain confident, based on my review of this matter, that all possible lines of inquiry are being explored to bring resolution to this matter. There are many more matters that I would like to address, and I will do so on a later date.
You just heard from the island's Director of Public Prosecutions, and that is Mr. Dasrian Green, providing the nation with an update with regard to some well-publicized homicides which have occurred in St. Lucia over the last few years. We'll be turning to speak with a number of individuals, so just please stand by while we try to do that in terms of getting their reaction to the statement that was issued earlier today in the press conference and the outcome by the Director of Prosecutions, Mr. Dasrian Green. I think we have one such individual on the line. Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And that is the mother of Shakadan Daniel. Your name is Frances Daniel.
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. You would have heard from, the Director of Public Prosecution spoke on the death of your son, and that is Shakadan Daniel. He died in the Miku police station, and that is on the 3rd of October, 2013. Now, what the DPP is saying that this matter remains active in terms of investigations, and he goes on to say that the exhibits have not been submitted for testing. The probe is incomplete, and therefore, what he's saying, he has called on the Commissioner of Police to do what is necessary to ensure that the matter is addressed. What are your comments on this? Your reaction to this?
Well, I want to say to the DPP, right now it's going to be 11 years since that has happened, and they had an inquest where they found out that he didn't kill himself, that the police and them inside of there killed him. They murdered him inside of there. Now, since he was being murdered inside of there, all the policemen that was in the station at the night, because at the inquest, all of them came and talked, and we saw who was guilty. And at the time, if the inquest say that they are guilty, he don't have no investigation to do than arrest for investigation, because they did it. When they come at somebody home and they get marijuana there or any drugs and they have 10 people, all 10 people get arrested. Why are they not arresting the policemen? Why? Why are they not arresting the policemen? That's a question I want to know. I want to ask. Yeah. You understand me?
Yes, ma'am.
And from day one, he was my lawyer. From day one, the same day Shakadan died, he was my lawyer. And after the lawyer,
and it is important to stress that the current DPP, Mr. Dasrian Green, was your attorney in that particular matter from day one. And that is very, very interesting. And thank you so much for highlighting this, ma'am.
Yes.
But
and he making me walk up and down, promising, even giving me a little money on the side, telling me know my situation. And yes, he's not doing nothing. And then he come to be a DPP and still trying to fool me and tell me all kind of things. I don't even like to talk about him. When I talk about him, he make me cry, and I feel so frustrated. All right now to cry right now. Because I see him, that's too much.
But in this particular case, ma'am, he has the hat on of a DPP. He's not your attorney, he's the DPP. And he's saying, what he's saying is that the exhibits in this particular issue, the exhibits have not been submitted for testing.
Yeah.
And also, that he gives the impression that is the responsibility of the police commissioner. So why, it's the police basically. So why would you still blame him for that?
You understand? You understand? I go to the commissioner of police, I go to the government, I go to the past prime minister already and the president. I go to how many, I go to priests already. I go how many places, I go to doctors everywhere already. And they have me suffering. They have me suffering. Every day I'm suffering. I'm crying. I want justice for my child.
Do you believe that you'll ever get justice for your son, Shakadan Daniel?
I don't believe it. I know I'm going to get justice. It's a must. Whatever, ever, at any extent, but it must. Yeah. I'm not accepting that. If I accept that, I will die. And if I know I'm going to die, I'll not die near you.
What do you mean by that?
Just so it is. If I know I'm dying, I'm going to die. And I know they're suffering and they try to kill me. Because they kill his father already. And they kill his sister already. And they're coming for me. Well, I don't let them kill me. I'll just take revenge on all that. Whatever I can, any way I can, I'll do it. Because I'm crazy right now.
Well, ma'am, obviously you cannot take matters into your own hands. But to the DPP, and in particular, to the police commissioner, who might be listening to this broadcast right now, what is your message to the DPP? Having heard, not DPP, but the police commissioner, having heard that basically the matter is now in her hands, to ensure that the exhibits are submitted for testing. The matter is in the hands of the commissioner of police. What message do you have to say to Mrs. Poleon right now?
Well, what I have to say to her right now is to see that the policemen that was there when they murdered my son, they have been arrested because the inquest have gone already, stating that they are guilty, and they have to arrest them. When they arrest, everything will come outside.
What is your final statement?
All the investigation they want will come out.
Okay. What is your final statement, ma'am?
The final statement, I want her to arrest the people who committed a crime against Shakadan and murder in the Mikul police station. Because they had an inquest, and the inquest said that he did not kill himself, that they killed him. So if they kill him, they're supposed to stand, arrest them one by one, just like if they come at somebody's home and they get drugs and they arrest everybody, arrest all of them that was there. Yeah, and then when you arrest them, investigation, whatever they want, they'll get an investigation. Yeah. So unless there is no arrest, investigation will all go on like that, because the same people investigating will be hiding things too, because they're still out working and they have to working for them.
Okay, ma'am, thank you so much for speaking with us, and all the best to you. And that is Frances Daniel, who is the mother of Shakadan Daniel. Remember, his lifeless body was found in the Miku police station, and that is on October the 3rd of 2013. A reminder of some of the events, how people have reacted, including the relatives, how they initially reacted to the death of Shakadan Daniel. We have this report, which is 10 years old, and at the time filed by Jason Darius, who was, not Jason Darius, sorry, but Jason Hollingshead, who was a reporter with DBS Television.
The October 23rd death of Shakadan Daniel rocked the nation and raised a number of questions as to what led to his demise while in custody at the Miku police station. The official pathologist report ruled that the young man died from asphyxia. The police commissioner, in his first public statement on the incident, has advised members of the public against jumping to conclusions.
I'm not asking anybody to defend the force, because we can do that ourselves. We can, if we have done wrong, then we can accept our blows. But I mean, we are asking people to be fair and to stick to the truth of the matter, and to look at some of the ways that we can, as St. Lucians, how can we build St. Lucia instead of breaking up? If we break up the police force, if we break up St. Lucia, that is not going to be good for the country in the long term.
Mr. Faswa says obviously the actions of the police need to be scrutinized, and he disclosed that the matter is currently under investigation. The police chief says persons also need to take into consideration the implications not only on the police force, but the island as well, when, to use his words, half-truths and speculations are fed to the international community.
The officers, I think, have handled it in a manner that should be handled, in a matter of having an investigation in progress to determine not only whether there's criminal culpability on the part of the police officers at the station or anybody else for that matter, but also for us to gives us an opportunity to review our processes to determine whether anything in that particular situation. So there's some work to be done in terms of what transpired in Mikud, but I think what I have asked is for people not to rush to judgment. It is something that we have to do in a systematic, objective manner. We cannot be too emotional about it. So, because what generally happens when we get too emotional and then the outcome of the investigation is not what we want it to be, we tend to, it undermines confidence in the system.
Asked for an update into the incident, Commissioner Fassois said the investigation is still ongoing and at its advanced stage. He says a submission will be made soon to the Director of Public Prosecutions to determine the way forward. For the DBS News World, Jason Hollandseed reporting.
And this report was filed some 10 years ago. On the line right now, we have Miss Mary Williams, who is the mother of Kimberly DeLeon. Good afternoon to you, Ms. Williams. Thank you so much for joining us on NewsSpin. All right, according to the DPP, the matter involving your deceased daughter remains an active investigation, and he says there are outstanding lines of inquiry in this matter which requires the assistance of overseas agencies. Your reaction, ma'am?
If that's the case, why now? Why wasn't it done ever since? It should have been done ever since. I tried to talk about this translation, and he tried to stop me. So now he's saying the commissioner is the one I have to go to. I've been to the commissioner, nothing has come out of that. To all those, I have been to regarding that case, nothing has come out of that. Who continue to tell me lies, who try to just not make an appointment for me to see who I want to see. It's just a total mess. But it's quite evident that the police has left this case for me to solve, and I have decided to go to the drawing board and chatter a way forward with this case. It's been 5 years, and yet now he's trying to tell me go to the commissioner. Go to the commissioner for what? Like one time I went to the officer and I asked him about an update into something he said he wanted to send and get from abroad. What he told me, the place was closed. I turned and I asked him, was there anywhere else in the world that he could have sent to get what he wanted? He told me no. Now that is a lie. That's a blatant lie.
Hello? I think we have lost contact with Miss Mary Williams. We'll endeavor to re-establish contact with her so that we can continue our investigation as we continue to provide you coverage of this press conference by the island's Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Dasrian Green, on a number of cases that are before him right now. So as soon as we're able to establish contact with Mary Williams, we'll be doing that. But let us take you back to 5 years ago. We had a report filed then by DBS's Sheffield Gillard, and that is on the probe involving the murder of Kimberly DeLeon.
On Friday, Police Commissioner Severin Mosheri, fresh from vacation, announced that investigators have made significant headway in the Kimberly DeLeon murder case. He says investigators will be submitting the file to the Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Dasrian Green. Investigations into the Kimberly DeLeon case appeared to be at a temporary standstill while investigators waited for the completion test on samples from the murder scene which were sent overseas for analysis. After months of waiting, Mr. Mosheri confirmed that all the samples have returned to St. Lucia. The next step is up to the DPP. Meanwhile, relatives of Kimberly William DeLeon remain adamant that they will not allow this to become another cold case. The family has often expressed frustration with the apparent lack of progress and communication from investigators. However, expectations are high that the case will move forward rapidly now that samples connected to the incident have been analyzed. According to a post-mortem report, DeLeo died from a single gunshot wound to the head. For the DBS News World, I am Sheffield Gillard.
And that report was filed once again some 5 years ago. This is a special edition of the most monitored talk show in the world, and that is NewsSpin on Power 97.9 FM. The broadcast is also on the NewsSpin Facebook page as well as the NewsSpin YouTube channel. In a bit, I'll be hearing from you. St. Lucia, the men in maroon are coming back this Wednesday, 19th of June. That's the day, of course, to battle England in the Super 8s at 8:30 p.m. Gather your crews and let's rally. Get your tickets from the box office at the stadium before they are all sold out. ICC Men's T20 World Cup Super 8 match, and it's going to be out of this world. And that is the West Indies doing battle against England today, Wednesday, 19th of June, 8:30 p.m. Still to come, we'll be hearing from you. I'll be going through that book by former Police Commissioner Vernon Francois, Restored Confidence, My Journey in the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, and he makes reference to a particular government minister.
Understanding the financial impact of job loss, First National Bank offers job loss insurance, specially designed to provide our customers support during such uncertain times. In the event you lose your job, coverage provides a financial cushion, easing your worries while helping you navigate career transitions. This coverage ensures that a job loss doesn't have to mean a financial crisis, providing you with the support that you need when you need it most. We are committed to standing by our customers in all of life's ups and downs. Our job loss insurance is more than just a policy. It's a promise of support, offering peace of mind and financial stability, ensuring that you can face career challenges without the added burden of financial stress. First National Bank, here for you.
Lazarus's Funeral Home is here for you. Lazarus's Private Cemetery offers a peaceful resting place for your loved ones. With tranquil settings, visitation, and reflection, we believe in the compassionate care of all our departed loved ones. Lazarus's Private Cemetery, let us help you create a final resting place. Make it special. Make it Lazarus's Funeral Home, your friend in a time of need. Payment plans are available for tombs. Call us in Vidbuta at 452-7491 or in New Dock Road, VA4, 454-6555.
Lucilex remote options are available to serve you every weekday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Call or send a WhatsApp message to 285-6796, 285-7859, 285-3593, 285-3329, or 285-8640, or send an email to customersupport@lucilec.com for assistance. Lucelec encourages you to use the available options for doing business with us remotely.
When you feel the vibes and the music sweet, KFC on the road giving you the beat. One sandwich, 2 chicken fries in your hand, a drink to go, best deal in the line. Food for the road.
Enjoy Food for the Road this carnival. For only $30, you get 2 pieces of chicken, 1 sandwich, 1 regular fries, a biscuit, and a 16-ounce soda. But that's not all. There's more. When you purchase this offer, you get a chance to win carnival costumes, event tickets, KFC vouchers, and more. This carnival season, get your KFC Food for the Road. It's finger licking good.
St. Lucia, Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, St. Vincent and Grenadines. The ICC Men's T20 World Cup Super 8s are loading. Come see boundary-breaking, history-making matchups. Who will make it to the semifinals? Get your tickets early at your local box office or at tickets.t20.com. It's going to be out of this world. For more information on Super 8 match fixtures, go to t20worldcup.com.
Night Meds. It's your dependable neighborhood pharmacy. You'll notice that upon entry, you are greeted by caring professional staff, attentive to your every need. Your prescriptions are always treated with a high degree of confidentiality, and we pride ourselves on providing speedy, efficient service. We carry a wide array commonly requested over-the-counter products, and our prices are very competitive. We offer blood pressure testing, blood sugar, and cholesterol testing. We're open to fill your prescriptions Monday to Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Come visit Sadhu's gas station on the Miku Highway or call us at at 572-6840 or WhatsApp 461-6840 for more information. Night Meds Pharmacy. We are your community med store.
Get your accommodation ready for the event season. Jazz, T20 cricket, and of course, St. Lucia Carnival with hot showers powered by a tropical solar water heater. We offer a variety of sizes for any house, apartment, or hotel, and efficient installation within 24 to 48 hours of purchase. Call us today to find out what specials we have in store for you. With 3 convenient locations in Beaufort, 454-6344, Castries, 453-1868, or Grosley, 450-8201. Tropical Solar, good for the environment, good for you.
Discover the future of body imaging innovation at La Clinique de Corps Diagnostic Center of Excellence, where the gold standard in MRI technology meets unparalleled medical expertise. From the intricate neural pathways of the brain to the delicate structures of the spine, and from the vital functions of the heart to detailed multi-parametric MRI of the prostate, our higher resolution images see the unseen from head to toe. Our radiation-free Signa Prime Tesla 1.5 MRI machine is assisted by artificial intelligence, enhancing its precision in creating quality images for our trained radiologists to give you more accurate readings. Our facility ensures fast access to specialist doctors, including pain management, rheumatology, and family medicine. Proudly serving as a world-class facility in the OECS, we bring international standards of healthcare within your reach. There is no longer a need to travel overseas for superior medical services. Experience the pinnacle of diagnostic precision and patient care right here in St. Lucia. Schedule your MRI with La Clinique de Corps Diagnostic Center of Excellence, located in Cocoville, Rodney Bay. Call 451-6559 for your appointment. For your peace of mind, ask about our flexible financing options, including our co-pay system for clients with health care.
I'd like to inform you that Lucilec wishes to advise customers and the public that its customer service offices in Rodney Bay and V4 will be closed to the public on Thursday, June 20th, 2024. This closure is necessary to facilitate staff participation in a work activity. Normal business will resume at these offices on Friday, June the 21st, 2024 at 8 a.m. Customers who wish to conduct business with the company during the closure period are advised to use its various remote options to do so, including the virtual service desk on its website, www.lucilec.com. Responses on the virtual service desk and by account platforms will, however, be delayed due to staff unavailability. The management of Lucilec regrets any inconvenience that this closure may cause. The island's Director of Public Prosecutions has said that the warrants of inquiry, the warrants of arrest, and interviewing of police officers involved on suspicion of recklessness or reckless manslaughter should be carried out in the matters involving the killings of Kevin Ferdinand, that is the V45, Kevin Ferdinand, Rosarius Marquis, Jean-Baptiste McFarlane, Mitchell Cadet, and Alan Louisi, shot and killed by the police on May the 5th of 2021. And once again, the DPP says further lines of inquiry have been explored and therefore warrants the arrest and interviewing of officers involved on suspicion of reckless manslaughter. We have a report from Cecil Actil, and it involves the V4 killing on May the 5th of 2011.
Some of the relatives of the deceased were practically inconsolable as they showed up at the hospital. They had come to witness the post-mortem examinations on the bodies of the men who were killed by the police in the wee hours of May 5th in V4. One of the persons who came to support the relatives of the deceased had to be led away by the police, protesting all the way. Among the dead was this man, Jean-Baptiste McFarlane, who prior to his death has appeared on DBS television saying that the police had threatened to wipe him out and his entire family.
Only thing I want to see is just the body, how they brutalized the body, and the body will tell me the story of exactly what happened. That is what I'm expecting to see, his body from head to toe.
Police say the 5 men they killed attempted to burglarize the beach cafe in Vieux-Fort, which is also known as Kitsch Restaurant and Bar, opposite the Uenora International Airport. 2 of the men are reported to have been shot near the establishment, while the others are said to have fled the scene aboard a waiting vehicle. But relatives of the deceased have disputed the police account of what happened, saying that the men were in fact gunned down in cold blood. And viewing the bodies appeared to convince them further.
They make me pass 3 fellas first, and end up I see a show of my brother on top of the bed, on top of the thing, and I see my belly as though they give him some nicks on his chest, and end up I see his face on the kind of side, just a little thing of blood I see that running down his face, and his face on the side, and I think he's hit those fellas, hit my brother in his head and kill him to death.
When I went in the mortuary and identified Alan Louis's body, that whole side of Alan Louis is gone, and I don't know what's the cause of that, why that have to happen so. I really and truly, I don't know.
Dead as a result of the incident in Vieux-Fort earlier this month are Jean-Baptiste McFarlane alias Epik, Michel Cadet alias Apache, Alan Lenny Louisi alias Al Capone, and Myron Dupal. Kevin Ferdinand, who was shot and said to be in stable condition in hospital, died last week from his wounds. Reporting for the DBS News World, I am Cecil Actil.
And this report was filed some 13 years ago and by Cecil Actil, then an employee or reporter at DBS Television. Let's take a call. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You are on the air. Hello?
Yes.
Good afternoon to you, caller. Yes, caller. Go ahead,
Yes.
please. Mm-hmm.
I have a complaint, right, about the park and ride service for the Grizzly Bus Association. You know, and it's unfair to make me park my vehicle. I paid $10 for a park and ride, and then I cannot get a service back to my vehicle. I had to actually pay another bus, was a Boss issue bus who came, and I had to pay an additional $3 to get to Johnson Center. This is unfair to me, you know. And the guy was not even going to Johnson Center. He just assisted me because his grocery gap he dropping off that his route, right? And then you pay in advance. They make you pay in advance for 2 ways. And then the guy's not coming back to transport the people.
So how much you paid initially? How much you paid? What is the amount?
I paid $20 for 2 persons.
Okay.
Myself and my friend.
So it's $10 per person.
$10 per person.
And that's to take you to the ground and to transport you back to your to the other location.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
To and back.
And that has been happening for a while with the Grizzly Association. I have a suggestion to the authorities that you have to add other buses, because once the Grizzly bus take the people there, all of them must be there to take the people to the ground. But when to come back, it's about 3 or 4 buses that will be there. And you have thousands of people there. You cannot have 4 buses to take people back to the vehicles.
But why not charge each passenger $10? So $10 to the ground, and then when you live in the ground, you pay the other $10 instead of $20 up front. Okay, but you paid $20 for 2 of you all. Okay, all right.
For 2, yes, yes.
All right.
That was my thing too. But like they make you pay up front. But if they did not get the money, I guarantee that they're going to claim they make the trips, because if you make 10 trips to go up, it's supposed to be 10 trips to come back down.
Right.
So probably they will be getting that money, because there's nobody to monitor that. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And the 5 had opening of jazz in Masha. They had no problem. People had no issue with transportation to take the people back and forth. You know? And every time there is a national event and Grizzly is in charge, there is that problem. That needs to stop. That cannot continue.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I was hoping that this will be attended to. And Mr. Danny Edwards of the Groseley Minibus Association, he has been calling the broadcast. So, Mr. Edwards, if you are still listening to the program, maybe you can call right now because to provide us with some clarification with regard to this allegation that was made by our first caller. So we're trying to get Mr. Danny Edward on the line right now, and as soon as we're able to do so, we will put him on the air. He is representing the Groseley Minibus Association. 452-2979, 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Kimani, what is in the chat room?
In the chat room, someone says, caller, this is not Park and Ride Complaints Department, especially not today. Someone says they made you pay up front and they're operating back to front. Another comment, caller, you are so right. It happened to me one time. The drivers don't come back and pick up after any game. And someone says, how did they know you had paid for the return trip?
You have a call. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon, Tim.
Good afternoon to you, caller.
Yes, I would like to make a little contribution concerning that the last caller there with that shuttle service.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, the biggest problem with that whole shuttle service is that they have implemented something where the main transportation sector is actually completely left out. So when it comes to jazz, the taxi drivers, which are the main form of transportation for tourists, is completely left out of the loop. That's number one. So right now for taxi drivers, jazz makes no sense because you are not involved in jazz on any level. You are an outcast. That's number one. Number two, they have employed one of the most unruly type of transportation they have, which is the minibus sector. I would venture to say at least 60% of minibus drivers, maybe even 70%, are the most unruly people you can come across. They break the laws constantly. They are constantly rushing. They always rushing. That is the other thing. So that's why you have the chaos that is going on. I witnessed that in this that's going on in this cricket thing right now. The minibus drivers want to go into places they have no entry. They have designed the thing for them to go in one place, come out another place. So the entry to get to the park, to get to the cricket ground is via the Beausejour Road, which is a road that has just been paved. It is wide. There's a lot. It's perfect. And then you come out through Bella Rosa. But you know what already. The minibus drivers want to go up Bella Rosa because they think it is quicker. The other thing about that, Tim, is that our St. Lucian people too do not like to wait. We are too unruly as people. So on the return, you have people now, instead of waiting for the shuttles to come to the places where they drop them off, now I'm hoping, because I don't know, that there is a designated area, Tim, for each shuttle, park and ride. There's a park and ride at Wadouage, there's a park and ride at the Aquatic Center, and there's a park and ride from Johnson's, right?
Yeah.
So I am hoping, I'm putting my neck out there a bit, that the authorities would have had a particular place for each of these park and rides. So it comes to reason that if you drop somebody off, then you should be picking them up the same place, right, Tim?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I don't know what's going on in there, but I witnessed that all the people, there's a mass exodus of people come into a little area that in the last moment that they told taxi drivers that they could drop people off, because in the beginning, not even taxi drivers could not come into the area. We have to take people to the park and ride, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. How could you take somebody off a transport that they're paying premium and you take them to a second grade type of transportation, and then they still have to pay? Even for the jazz team, even the so-called VIP people had to be taken off vehicles and put onto a I mean, I don't know who's coming up with those concepts, Tim, but in my eyes, it is totally flawed. They need to go back to the drawing board completely with that park and ride thing. But going back to the cricket ground, I'm hoping that there is a designated area for each park and ride inside. So which means when you return in, you go back to that area where the buses should be waiting for you for the end of the game, just like they're waiting for you for the beginning. I see long lines of buses waiting to take people in. I don't know what is because I can't go further in than the little area they say we could drop people off. And then people are walking away from the park and ride, so it's creating a problem. So there are a number of things that's creating a problem, Tim. So the whole system needs to be reviewed so that this thing could be a little more successful. I think the concept right now in terms of getting people in there, going in through Beauséjour, coming out through Bella Rosa, it can work. The bigger problem too is that there's a corner, Tim, when you're coming out of Bella Rosa to get just by Johnson's there's a big hole in the gutter there. So 2 vehicles cannot pass. So it's creating a bottleneck. So they need to look at that. And people should not be coming up from Johnson's. They should be going through Beauséjour, the Beauséjour Road by the fire station, because you have people. And the other thing, same again, because the police don't constantly monitor, there's a big problem by Johnson's area there where people are parking on the road now. So you find that the space of the road has declined because people are parking on the sides of the road when they should not be parking there at all. So they have a multiplicity of things. The police needs to be constantly monitoring from start to end. The police are stopping, but they're stopping halfway.
Okay, Colin.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. All right, let's turn our attention now to your WhatsApp messages as we await your calls, 452-2979, WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Somebody says there, the DPP said impacts is hearsay. Why did Dr. Kenny Anthony reference it in the House if it held no merit or factual information? He's a lawyer that. The commissioner needs to act to resolve these matters urgently. Soon she will be going on retirement again. It is just a revolving door. Any more comments, Kimani, in the chat room?
Someone says, Tim, enough already. No more with this park and ride. They want to have the DPP. Back to regular programming, Tim. Another comment, there's no roads in the north on a normal day. Watch the traffic. Now we have an international event. What do you expect? Oh my God, I don't want to hear about no shuttle service when we are talking about the DPP press conference.
Okay, stick a pin. We have Rick Wynn on the line. Good afternoon to you, Rick Wynn. You're on the air.
Tim, it would appear that you have all kind of devils on with your reception.
We're trying to rectify.
It would also appear that the people are more interested in cricket than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So one wonders whether one should bother.
Well, we expect you, as somebody who is of a different mindset, not to follow the trend.
Well, Tim, to start off, I did, well, not deliberately, it's a little too early for me in my circumstances to have attended that press conference. But at the end, I decided it was a good decision to make not to be part of the question and answer, but rather to sit back and have my big TV on and to study demeanor, study questions, study the ducking, study the cleverness, and also to some extent study the abilities and inabilities of the journalists in the room. So all of that will make for some very good writing and comment on later on. I am not disappointed because to be disappointed, it would mean you anticipated a certain something and it didn't happen. I was educated. For example, I said it before, that the government is whatever government is responsible for the dispensation of justice in the country, that the government is responsible for the quality of justice. The government is responsible for how people think based on what they see and what they get accustomed to. All of that, the government, it's called education. All of that, the government is responsible for. And when I hear that this government is hands up, that is nothing to do with this, and whereas the government controls everything in the country, from the DPP down to the inmate who can't get bail for 10 years. The government controls that. And you might want to ask me some questions as I go along, so I don't just have a soliloquy. I say that because it is the government that supplies the finances, the allocations, in the same way as the government finances the poorest of the poor, in the same way as the government sets up a minimum wage. You don't just care for the poor by giving them $10 a minimum wage, or even 20 or 50 more than they were getting before. You have to have special regard for the poorest of the poor, that they too have access to justice. Did you get that?
Yes, very much so. So you heard my interview. You heard my interview with the mother of Shakadan Daniel, Frances Daniel.
Yes.
And
the mother of Shaka, whatever his name is, or the mother of
Shakadan Daniel, or the mother of Kimberly De Leon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Tim, I can't even bear to watch and hear those people anymore, because they are serious victims of the circumstances that we have allowed to become normal in our country. They are but the more conspicuous victims. You can count, there are a lot more like that who are not in a position to come on TV, who don't even know there is such a thing as Timothy Poleon's show, who just sit at home and who cry that the boys were they didn't deserve that, even though they were stubborn, and they even say things about their children when their children have been killed that, without their realizing it, almost justifies the brutal demise of those people, especially by the supposed guardians of the law.
But but hold on, Rick. But in such circumstances, I do not blame those people, because they are hurting, they are grieving, they are emotional.
Did you hear me say one word?
No.
Did you hear me say?
Hold on.
I want to be very, very
I'm just
clear.
saying I do not blame those people for making those statements. No, hold on. But I just have a difficulty when the reporters add those comments to the story.
But one at a time, please. I'm not so bright, Tim. One at a time. I don't want to get confused. You know me, my brain is too good. I'm old. Okay. I'm senile. I want to stress again, just in case they didn't catch me, that the mother of the policeman's wife, the grieving mother, you see how much weight that lady has lost?
Yes.
Since we first saw her?
Which lady, Frances Daniel or Mary Williams?
The mother of the policeman's wife.
Yeah, Mary Williams, yeah.
Did you see her physicality? Did you take note of that, Tim?
When?
Today, Tim. She was on TV today with the DPP.
No,
Did you look at her physically?
I did not see her on TV this morning.
That is why I told you it was so good for me to sit at home and watch and analyze on TV. Because I'm watching those people, and the eyes are the windows to the soul. That woman's soul is a mess. Jumped on, shit on, treated like she's a fly. She doesn't matter. Her soul is barely alive, and you can see that through her eyes. The woman's head has become skeletal, and she is not alone. She's like, there are a lot of people like her in St. Lucia, going back years, whom we don't know. When was the last time you heard anybody talking about Giselle Georges? Well, and so on and so on and so on, Belinda Joseph and the consequences. These things come in and out of news. So we have this one here today, and we cannot just take a superficial thing at it. You have to look at the victims of what passes for justice in this country, and you have to put it against politicians talking about minimum wage and good conscience and how they care about the poor. The first thing you have to care about the poor is to keep them safe, is to give them access to justice. Not just to, they can go and beg a bread from maybe a friend or a cousin, or even do the indignity of selling themselves for bread. But they cannot do that for justice. And when the woman's daughter is gunned down like a pig in the street, and she's walking up and down like a mad woman, many in this country consider that woman mad. Why she ain't giving up on that? She ain't going nowhere. So that is the dismissal for everything. Or you try to talk to people who profess to have a conscience, who are sometimes involved with the law, and they tell you they have nothing to say. They actually tell you that, Tim.
Yeah.
That is what we're dealing with. So what we saw today was graphically the nightmare we're all living in, and that we are all perpetuating either with our silence or inactivity. Okay? So when those two ladies, both who talked to you, and the one who was on there this morning, and the young man who was trying his best to talk to the DPP and all that kind of stuff, the DPP, let it be known
Before you continue, somebody in the chat room says, Tim, what were you doing you didn't see? I need to address this issue to clear my name. I could not have stayed there and watched the entire press conference in its entirety. All right? I could not watch it in its entirety because I'm also there trying to put the show together, trying to extract other clips and to do background work and to really get the information together so that it can be aired on the program. So I did not have the luxury of time in terms of Rick sitting at home with his big television and watching it from the start to the conclusion. Go ahead, Rick.
Television, big show.
Yeah.
Big show, Tim.
Go ahead, Rick.
A
Continue.
television big show.
Continue.
But I want to say something added to what you just said there. You get a lot more, Tim, by looking at the videos on YouTube and whatnot, sitting down with a pen and paper and writing little notes.
Yeah.
Or playing it back and making sure you heard the right thing. So the person who's giving you a hard time there, I understand, but I hope the person himself or herself will do that for himself or herself, and all those other people in the chat room, and all the people in the diaspora who are either who are either red, speak only in the red language or the yellow language, because it can happen to a relative of theirs. It can happen to them too. And they complain about the police treatment and whatever in America. But in America, we hear a lot of cases where the police brutalize black people and whatnot. But there are also a lot of cases where policemen go to jail for long terms, huh?
Yes, they do.
And we also have some semblance of transparency in this horrible American place, where they were protesting, or rather demonstrating in favor of Black Lives Matter. But I don't know what other lives we have here but Black Lives Matter. But anybody watching those videos, a video of 2 days happening, will have to conclude that they thought Black Lives Matter, but obviously Black Lives don't matter. All that matters here is whether you are red or whether you are yellow, and your propensity for listening to bullshit from stupid politicians who pretending they're erudite. Because you cannot be telling me you care about people, that you put people first. And that sounds like Labour Party, but I'm not talking about the Labour Party. I'm talking about our politicians generally, because they've all had their shot at it, Tim. And all those things we're talking about there are things dating back years. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
So while the government in office now has to take its share of heat, no other set of politicians have done that much different. You with me?
Absolutely.
And it's always the same victims, the people. So when the DPP comes on there after so many years, after so many months of people crying out, after so many complaints that nobody can see the DPP, after so many complaints that you go to his office and he's always missing in action, after so many complaints by journalists who call, and you hear him say his office is open. He said that today. And nobody said a thing about that insanity. Nobody complained about that. But that's what he does. I'm in my office, come on, see me. Okay. He began by telling us his job. But we know his job better than he does, don't we, by this time?
We ought to know, yes.
we the people know his job better than he can. And he tells you his job is not to investigate, but to review what is put before him by the police. And he, in effect, told us that much of what the police have been telling us for years regarding the relevant cases have been blatant lies, prevarications, lies. And he, the DPP's office, has never sought to expose those lies. Are you getting me, Tim? I want to make sure I'm
yes,
understood.
Yes.
If the DPP, like he says, can only deal with what is put before him, then the police have been lying to the people, the victims of the worst atrocities in this country. The police have been lying to them.
Take for
That
example,
the samples are there. That
take for example the Shakadan Daniel incident, where the DPP says that exhibits have not been submitted for testing. And the probe is incomplete.
I'm not going to go.
And the probe is incomplete. So the probe has to be conducted by the police, and it's calling on the Commissioner of Police to cause this matter to be addressed, which takes me to another issue. And his recommendation, the need of an independent agency to investigate police shootings. That seemed long overdue.
Dale Elliott, I don't know why he saw the need to say he won't be confrontational, because I expect Dale to be confrontational. Even in my circumstances, if I was there, I would have been confrontational. Confrontational doesn't mean calling the guy nasty names or cursing his mother's body parts or throwing a chair at him. Confrontational means asking your question with confidence regardless of how the question sounds. That's what I call confrontational. Talk was always described as confrontational, and I never denied that. But Dale must have his reasons, he's an experienced journalist, why he said, because somebody actually mentioned that to me, why he said he had to be confrontational. And that same person was saying to me how stupid the DPP was and how he said, and who cares about these value judgments? I am neither going to judge the DPP as stupid or smart or devious. I am taking what he said and putting that under the microscope. I don't care if he's a coolie, if he's a white man, if he's this, I'm not. Put it up against the facts. We know the police acknowledged many times that a gun was picked up along the route where they chased the car on which Arnold, the boy, was riding. Remember that?
Arnold Joseph, yes.
They first of all said they recovered a gun from the scene. And that was in a week or so changed to say that the police who actually were involved in the chase were not the police who found the gun. Remember that?
Yes.
But that there was a gun. So what did the DPP do? Right away, he blocks that. He blocks that. And nobody thought to say to him, if you are here to bring clarification to all these darkened cases in the dark, you are not doing it because it's not a matter of yesterday and day before. It's a matter of how long since that little boy was shot?
That's 2019, almost about 5 years.
Good. But here the DPP acknowledged the police shot him. Isn't that enough to work on? Isn't that enough to ask the policeman who acknowledged that they shot the boy to give account for why they shot the boy?
But more than that, Rick, but more than that, he said that the file submitted, the Commissioner of Police, this matter has not been formally sent to my office for advice. You remember he said that?
Let me stick to my point, please, because all of those what you're saying there are relevant, but I want to stick to my point. My point is, if he can say, without a court case, that the police shot the boy, then how did he find that out? Well, he found that out primarily because the police have themselves acknowledged they shot the boy.
Mm-hmm.
So how come you can't go anywhere 4 years later? He also said at one point that he was not properly staffed, in his own words. He said that. But the Prime Minister says they've given him everything they've asked for. Right?
Yeah.
Are there any jet skis allocated the DPP's office? You don't know, do you?
I would know that, Rick.
Well, I don't. But the Prime Minister has said often that he supplied the various justice departments with all the equipment they need. He has said that. So that boy, no account, but he blocks reporters. Like there was another one. He said He said the content of the impact report is nothing but hearsay.
Okay, but before you go into that, let's continue to deal with Arnold Joseph and the fact that he says this matter has not been formally sent to his office for advice. I found it very strange that this is actually the case, and more than that, that certainly would justify the need for the police to cease investigating the police when such killings occur.
Tim, we have known that part for the longest while. So I want to stay with what the DPP said today. We have known for a long time, Vernon Francois was advocating a long time ago that the police cannot keep investigating themselves, right?
Yeah, but you don't find it strange? You don't find it strange?
No,
that this matter, hold on, that this matter has not been formally sent to his office for advice? Aren't you suspicious?
But Tim, the reason I can't answer that question as anticipated is I am convinced the DPP is far from telling the truth on everything. And obviously, he just proved today that the police are a bunch of liars. Okay? So I can only say what he said and what you and I and everybody else in St. Lucia knows, because it has been going for years. We've interviewed the police and they've said certain things on the record. All of that. He didn't want to discuss. He was asked whether, he was asked by Dale whether Richard Frederick was mentioned. I'm not sure if it was mentioned, he said, mentioned in the report. And he leaned back on that thing that, he wouldn't mention the names and so on and so on and so on.
In which report? Further, in the impacts report?
Impacts.
Okay.
And he proudly stated that he had the impacts report in front of him. He proudly stated that he had it in front of him so that if he really wanted to talk on that, he could have referenced it. But anyway, perhaps this is a legal matter, and so he told Dale he's not going to entertain that. But when Sheffield asked him, a question about the impact report again, and he said it was just a lot of hearsay. He read it, and everything in there was hearsay. But isn't that when lives are involved, Jim, and you hear things that are, for the moment, uncorroborated or underscored, that in fact is hearsay? If it is important enough to you, don't you advise that this be investigated? Because he said he has the authority to suggest investigations, huh?
Yes.
But he also said the police basically tend to F up. Effectively. That he said certain things to the government, and I suppose by the government he means the AG. To certain things to the AG, and that's representative of the government, that's the government's lawyer. And he said certain things to the commissioner, both of whom have ignored him and continue to ignore him.
But don't you think you need to be specific and precise as to what advice you would have given to the AG or to the police commissioner? Is he afraid of his skin?
He said he recommended prosecution, arrest.
Okay.
And nothing has happened since. He also recommended the setting up of an independent agency to deal with especially the cases in the ORC impacts matter. He said that. He wanted an independent agency. So he also said something about the government. Well, it occurred to me when he was talking that the government can interfere with justice in various ways and still look like they're hands off. Look at the Prime Minister yesterday. He wouldn't even take.
That I do not find surprising when politicians say that they do not meddle in the work of the police and other government departments and so on. We all know that one is clearly not true.
But Tim, I'm not even dealing with the surreptitious aspect of that, areas that we cannot prove. We can prove how much the government cares about crime, how much the government cares about the poor people whose children have been brutalized in the weirdest situations, by checking how much money and personnel are allocated to those particular cases or whether they're just forgotten. But even when the government itself is under more or less indictment as the result of inquiries, the government is in charge of what happens next. Most of these inquiries suggest that the reports be handed over for the DPP for possible further action. We have never heard that happen, Tim. Never. He referred to this thing that we were all on for how many years, that brought down to St. Lucia a special contingent of diplomats to go see the Prime Minister, who set up a precedent by the diplomats and their dissatisfaction with how the impacts thing was going. They held a all even officials. The DPP now tells you that it was just an independent that was not an independent investigation. That the guys were given terms of reference. So when Kenny Anthony says, "Oh my God, but we are in so much trouble," because none of that is about to change in the whatever time I have left, or yours. Last year, I think it was, Kenny Anthony said, for the police to go anywhere and for the police to have any meaning and appreciation and respect, they must resolve this impacts matter that has been made into a political football. You remember that?
Yes.
And there is the DPP who was there at the time, now telling us it was a bunch of shit, a waste of public funds to carry out the investigation and everything else we paid for, because that thing was just a political matter headed by Kenny Anthony with his own terms of reference. So he dismissed it. He dismissed it even though it occupied our attention for years, and that DPP was there. It was well bruited about that Alan Chasney gave this guy a particular salary based on his faith in his conversations with him, I suppose, that he was going to resolve the whole impacts issue. And it was being called impacts at the time. Huh?
Yes.
We heard all that. My point being, Tim, that the DPP does not live on Mars. He must know, because he suggested that, he must know what the public is, what he called great concern to the public. He knows all those things. So why don't you go out of your way to answer as best you can those concerns, Tim? Over and over and over and over, he did that. Duck one way. He referred to impacts as one of my greatest disappointments. And we never heard that until today, Tim. He referred to the impacts inquiry and report as one of his greatest disappointments on a personal level. Greatest disappointments. Would you have ever gotten that idea from all that transpired over the years?
Well, not based on his responses, the lack of response, and also on the fact of lack of action on his part as well. Because if you give priority to an issue, it shows that it causes you immense concern. And he has not done that.
He told a reporter that, I'm not casting aspersions. A question was asked, and he told the reporter who asked him if it was mentioned, and he played around with him, etc. But what harm would it do to him with all the public talking and the Powell Bolawi and the police talk and all kinds of stuff we've been hearing, this tiny paradise of ours? What harm would it have done if the DPP had said there was no politician mentioned in that report? No politician. Why didn't he say that?
Maybe there
was. And what they do not understand as well.
And how would that?
Is by being cagey and non-committal, they're basically causing more confusion when it comes to those issues, in the mind, putting more confusion in the minds of members of the public, because members of the public, they are familiar with what transpired, at least some of it.
Exactly.
And do not forget that they want some kind of action, because that thing is lingering. I mean, this whole matter involving impacts will be with us for a very, very long time, huh?
Tim, let us not forget one very important factor. Kenny Anthony delivered 2 speeches, one in 2015, I think that one in 2013, all about impacts. That report was broadcast by Kenny Anthony to the world, stating that his suspicions were confirmed that there were hitmen involved. Hit list. There's a hit list involved, right?
Let me help you with this one. Let me help you with this one. Let me help you with this one. Let's listen to Dr. Kenny Anthony.
I can report that the findings of the investigators are extremely damning. I will state some of these findings tonight to bring home to you the extreme gravity of this matter. These findings relate not only to those officers who were involved in the operations, but additionally, members of the high command of the police force who may have been involved in covering up these matters. The report confirms that the blacklists or death lists referenced by the media, human rights organizations, victims' families, and citizens alike did exist. More alarmingly, the investigators report that all the shootings reviewed were fake encounters staged by the police to legitimize their actions. Further, that the weapons supposedly found on the scene of the alleged extrajudicial killings were from sources other than the victims. The investigators say that the weapons were planted on the scene of the shootings. The investigators also advise that a number of shootings were done by police officers and are listed on the murder statistic as being done by unknown assailants. Revealingly, the report suggests that, quote, the crime problem in St. Lucia is facilitated by corrupt politicians, government officials, business persons, and police officers, unquote.
Then Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony addressing the nation. That's in the March 2015 address to the nation. Go ahead, Rick.
And so, Tim, I ask you, did the Prime Minister go out on his own? There's a nice word for that, as it eludes me at the moment. His own folly is another word. Something it sounds like that. On his own adventure, and make those kind of irrevocably damning statements? Did he get the advice of the DPP that it was okay to go and say that to the world, or did he not? And when he had done it, did the DPP see no need whatsoever to talk to the Prime Minister for having done so, to go on and talk all this hearsay?
But Rick, that was in March of 2015. Mr. Green would not have been the DPP at the time.
I didn't mention Deep Green, you know.
Oh, okay. I just want to clarify this.
Was there a DPP at all?
Wouldn't that DPP be Victoria Charles Clark? No, I'm not too sure. I think it would have been Victoria Charles Clark was the DPP then.
Victoria Charles, had she left by then? But let us say she had left by then. It still remained the Prime Minister should not, he's a constitutional lawyer and everything. Even a banana cutter would know you cannot go and tell the whole world that Vernon Francois turned his back to allow crime of the worst order to take place under his watch. And not only that, for the Public Service Commission to set a precedent by issuing a press release, which was carried by HTS, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, saying that based on information we have regarding you on this whole impacts business, we would like you to resign, or words to that effect. on, and a boy optics or something else. And again, I'm very careful. I know Vernon Francois well, and I have no reason to blacken him, so to speak. But you know, when you look at the optics, Vernon Francois was summary. Most people figure he was forced out of the job. Most people will tell you after all that was being said, it was very difficult for him to continue as police commissioner. Most people would deduce that from everything else. And then they start to ask, what is Vernon Francois doing right now? What is he doing, Jim?
I'm not too sure. Must be some security consultant.
Is he working with Slasper?
No, he isn't.
Huh?
No, he isn't.
He's not?
No, but in his book, he's not working with Slasper, not to my knowledge.
All right, well,
But in his book, Restored Confidence of 2018, page 123, he writes, "What has bothered me is the fact that former Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony indicated in his address to the nation that he was aware of a hit list during his tenure as leader of the opposition. I wondered with whom he shared this information when it came to his attention. It was such unsubstantiated, irresponsible pronouncements which contributed to the United States government applying its Leahy law to St. Lucia. For such political expediency, St. Lucia continues to pay dearly." That's
now
from
my
his
point
book.
to you is,
1 minute, Rick.
never before-
One more minute before, and then we'll conclude your contribution. You have an additional minute. Rick, are you there?
I'm there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I am saying, look at one. That's another victim of this thing that that we spend so much time on as journalists, yours truly in particular, and all the things I was saying. That DPP was there, and he never once corrected the country, not me, because I would willingly have stated whatever came out of the DPP's office regarding the value of that report, regarding the recklessness of the Prime Minister. I mean, anywhere in the world that the Prime Minister would have done what Kenny Anthony did there, including passing laws to facilitate it. Are you there, Tim?
Yes, I'm Derek.
To facilitate it, would have been asked to account at the very least. And even in recent times, where was the DPP all that time? The DPP had made an announcement 2 weeks before the elections, and he still did not suggest anything about the impact report was a con, was a fixed thing, political thing, that the Prime Minister gave his own terms of reference. He said nothing, Tim. Nothing. And now, we now are left because as much time as you've given me, we now have to accept that our politicians are much less than we think they are, which wasn't much. That our police cannot be trusted because we still don't know if what Kenny Anthony said was true or not, because there's been no investigation of it. The DPP pretended he could not answer the question regarding what, if any, politicians were named in the report, because it is quite okay for the DPP to say, yes, a politician was mentioned, but I will not discuss any further.
Right.
If Pip can do it, he can do it too, and he has the law behind him. All of those things, and those victims, you look at them, and I put myself in my position. God forbid something happened to a close relative of mine, my son, as opposed to the lady's daughter. A guy left in the police station is found hanged, and the immediate thing is to talk about suicide, and the inquest finds different. How many years now?
That was in 2019, so that's 5 years.
Okay.
No, sorry.
This boy.
Sorry, that's 11 years. 11
boy.
years. 11 years in the case of Shaka Daniel.
By the way, the word I was going to, I'm actually going to thank Nigel Toussaint. Can you believe that? When I said Kenny went on his folly, I was looking for the word.
Mm-hmm. Frolic.
With impacts. Eh?
One is frolic.
The correct word is frolic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hussein. I don't often have reason to thank you for anything. And Tim, so we are no closer to resolution of this horrendous episode, which has its connections to current day justice. Because all of those lawyers, all of those bar association people, they are all complicit in this horror. In this horror. They're all complicit. And what we had there this morning, I'm looking on the best side of it. It was highly educational. And I hope we have not heard the end of it, at least for NewsSpin. And I hope we don't allow the CIP to drown in that, because they are all connected. And the truth of the matter is we cannot trust the word of our politicians. Yesterday, I was pleased to hear Philip J. Pierce say that nothing a politician says should go unchecked, including himself. Well, we have checked. We've been checking for years. And what we came up with is rotten meat getting more rotten. And some people full of love for their lost ones are dying on the vine. We can see them dying. And we feel nothing. And we want to talk about cricket. Thank you very much, Tim.
You're welcome, sir. We'll take 2 more calls and then we'll conclude our broadcast. This is the most monitored talk show in the world, NewsSpin. On page 121 of his book, Restored Confidence, My Journey in the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, that's by Vernon Francois, former police commissioner, he makes reference to a particular politician and current government minister. It reads, one interesting, and I should say controversial member of the United Workers' Party government's National Security Council was the then Housing Minister Richard Frederick. There was a school of thought which suggested his involvement in the council negatively impacted its credibility. Mr. Frederick, who is a lawyer by profession, was also a former member of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. In fact, I know Mr. Frederick very well, as we joined the police force together and did our initial training in Barbados. Notwithstanding constant talk about Mr. Frederick's involvement in criminal activities, and I know external agencies, including the Americans, had a particular interest in him, I never encountered any evidence of criminal behavior on his part. As with any other individual, I have said publicly, much to the chagrin of some politicians, that my job was to chase after criminals, whether also pastors or politicians. In the case of Richard Frederick, during my career, despite my efforts and those of others, there was no conclusive evidence I was aware of to show he engaged in illegal behavior. Page 121 of the book Restored Confidence, My Journey in the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, by former Police Commissioner Vernon Francois, published in the year 2018. A quick look at some of the comments in the chat room, Kimani.
In the chat room, someone someone says there is no closure from that DPP. Another comment in the chat, the impacts investigation was Kenny's attempt to get rid of Frogface. Today, Frogface is in his government's cabinet, and the police who killed Page will be arrested. Another comment was an impacts an independent agency. Someone says, so you have people hanging on to impacts for no reason. That makes no sense, CPP. We need to explain further. Another comment, being KG causes more distrust, not even confusion, because you believe most of us are clear that our police force is corrupted by even more corrupt politicians.
We have a call. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air. Good afternoon.
Tim, good day.
Yes, good afternoon to you, caller.
Tim, I haven't listened to the DPP's conference, and hearing Rick, I will say something that I told you 14 years ago, Tim, that the DPP, that the impacts report, as confirmed by the DPP today, and he has said it before, does not have any evidential value. Now, Rick didn't listen very much over the years, but I'm telling, I always said that Rick know not as much about the impacts and the allegations, you know. Rick doesn't know very much, and I'm listening to Rick there, and I now realize that he now realizes how much we were conned by the politicians, especially Dr. Anthony. All right, so now it is clear. It is clear that what Dr. Anthony read there in March of whatever year he did it.
That's 2015.
Yes. And I remember that the weekend before that day, that reading of that impacts report, Tim, I said to some of my colleagues, I don't know why it is done that way, but I thought at the time that Mr. François, Commissioner, should have addressed the police on that matter. Tim, if I was a plain guardian at the time, I could have made some money. You guys predicted exactly what we're discussing today. I predicted that was fake from that day, that weekend before Kenny Anthony read that, because I know the events that brought up impacts, you know. A lot of people will not admit it, but I know, and I could have put my finger on the events leading up to the impacts investigations by the politicians. And it was not surprising to me today to hear Rick almost going a total 360 on what he has been saying about the impacts report. So I listened to the full conference, and it's so much that the people don't know. The public is so uninformed. Even the relatives of the deceased people. There are so many things that they don't know. And the DPP tried, he was very, very professional, trying to tell persons that what they're listening on social media and what that's going around is not of evidential value. And Kenny Anthony, out of all persons, should have known better.
So you're saying that the then Prime Minister should not have read made it part of the impacts report, a part of his address to the nation then in March of 2015.
That's what I'm saying. And the DPP also said, Tim, in answer to a question, that one of his first moves as DPP in November of 20 whatever year he took office, he said one of his first moves he made in respect of the impacts report was to go to Jamaica to visit the clowns that came here to do what they are doing, to do what Kenny Anthony brought them to do. And he said that was of no evidential value. He said he read the report. It's instructive. It's something that he can use it as information, but it has no evidential value. Is it any different to what the previous DPP said, Tim? Exactly the same thing she said. And you remember how much blow she got from certain politicians who were drunk on the market step?
I don't know if they were drunk, but I remember them on the market steps, caller.
They're still drunk. They're still drunk, Tim. They're still around.
Okay. Thank you so much for calling, sir. We will take a final call at 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Kimani, some quick comments from the chat room before we conclude, and then we'll take a call.
Someone in the chat room says, so you have people hanging on to impacts for no reason. Another comment, I need Scotland Yard to take over this police force. We need a major cleansing with Clorox, J's, and turpentine. I was so disappointed in the DPP's press conference. I'm not enlightened about the cases. So many questions Dale asked and he did not answer. Thanks, Rick. The problem begins with the police, and the responsible person is the commissioner present and past. Someone says, I am still a bit confused. Further investigations mentioned by the DPP means what? Was it investigations conducted by impacts or by the DPP after impacts? Another comment in the chat, reckless manslaughter, why not second-degree murder? Someone says the back of the justice system is broken and now on life support waiting for the last rites. We are in deep trouble. Only God can save us.
Let's take a final call. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air. Hello. Hello. Good afternoon. All right. Let's take another call. This is NewsSpin. Good afternoon to you. You are on the air. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon to you.
I just listened to your last caller, and the last caller says report has no evidentiary value. I think the problem is that some of these people don't know what evidentiary value means. Because basically, am I to say that the numerous investigations with the DOJ, the Federal Trade Commission, all these different agencies that I've worked on have no evidentiary value? It's the same as the report that was written. You have to find the value in it. So to say the report, oh, it's just a report, had no evidentiary value. What Kenny Anthony read, I can take that information and make it do what it needs to do and get everything that I need out of it. It's not going to give you the weapons. It's not going to give you pictures of perhaps the state of the bodies when you found them. It's not going to give you any of that, but it's certainly going to direct you in where and how to get it. So to say it has no evidentiary value is incorrect. And these people speak with so much confidence like they know what they're talking about. The DPP said this morning that, oh, it's just laden with hearsay. Well, hearsay in American evidence law and hearsay in St. Lucian evidence law is not the same thing. It's completely not the same thing. So for him to say it's hearsay and it cannot be used, I don't think he's analyzed it, he's looked at it, and he has checked to see how, where, and when he can use it.
So you could use that information as leads.
Well, he can use it as leads. I'm not going to tell him how to do his job. But he cannot say that it has. And the caller before you, I don't know who he was, sounded like an ex-police officer or a current police officer. He too cannot say it has no evidentiary value. They cannot say that. Every investigation has evidentiary value. That's why you do an investigation. It's so it can lead you to the evidence. It can tell you where you need to go and what you need to do. Investigations are done all the time. Accidents, you have investigations. Trump, you had investigations. The Federal Trade Commission is antitrust. Everything you have investigations. So to say that it has no value is incorrect, and perhaps they need to learn how to do their jobs. That's all I have to say.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for your input. As we conclude another edition of the most monitored talk show in the world, we gave you some extra time, extra 30 minutes, and we have to conclude right now. Thank you so much for watching and listening to NewsSpin. Please continue to enjoy your Wednesday, and we'll be back tomorrow afternoon, same time, 12:30, with another edition of NewsSpin. Goodbye.